When a man of integrity was wrongly accused and escorted off a flight, onlookers jumped to conclusions. But one bold statement turned the situation on its head, leaving everyone speechless. Stick around to see how this gripping tale unfolds, and let us know where you're tuning in from. We love hearing your stories. In the sleek, modern cabin of Horizon Air's first-class section, the atmosphere was lively. Passengers settled into spacious seats with soft gray upholstery, while attendants moved gracefully, offering glasses of sparkling water and freshly brewed coffee. The faint aroma of citrus and leather filled the air as conversations hummed around the cabin. Damon Carter, a confident man in his early 40s with a calm demeanor, took his seat in 2B. His tailored navy suit and sleek messenger bag hinted at success, yet his focus remained on the tablet in his hands. As a senior strategist for a global firm, he was no stranger to traveling in comfort or making quick decisions under pressure. As Damon scrolled through his notes, a man across the aisle kept glancing at him. The man, wearing a crumpled plaid shirt, leaned toward an attendant and muttered something. She hesitated, glanced at Damon, and approached him cautiously. "Excuse me, sir. May I see your boarding pass?" she asked politely, her tone professional yet uneasy. Damon raised an eyebrow, handing her the pass. "Of course," he replied evenly. She inspected it, her face relaxing. "Thank you, sir. Everything checks out." With a smile, she returned the pass and moved on. But the man wasn't satisfied. He leaned back in his seat and said loudly, "Are you sure? People sneak into first class all the time. It happens, you know." Damon's calm expression didn't waver. "Is there an issue?" he asked, his voice measured. The man crossed his arms, smirking. "Just saying, some people don't belong here. Maybe he's in the wrong place." The murmur of conversations faded as passengers turned to watch the exchange. A flight attendant reappeared, her expression strained, but before she could speak, the man gestured toward Damon. "Someone needs to double-check. I'm telling you, he shouldn't be here." Within minutes, a security officer boarded the plane, tension rippling through the cabin. The officer approached Damon, his face a mask of professionalism but his tone sharp. "Sir, I need you to step off the plane with me," he said, his voice cutting through the silence. Damon set his tablet down. "Why?" he asked firmly, though his voice remained composed. "We've been informed there's a question about your ticket. Please come with me." Damon glanced at the officer, then around the cabin. He saw the curiosity, unease, and judgment etched on the faces of fellow passengers. Gathering his belongings, Damon stood, his movements deliberate. The cabin fell into a hushed stillness as Damon straightened his tie and met the officer's gaze. Years of similar incidents raced through his mind, moments where he'd been underestimated, doubted, or judged solely by his appearance. But Damon knew this wasn't the time to let anger dictate his actions. He turned to the officer, speaking clearly and deliberately. "I'm Damon Carter, senior strategist for Horizon Air. I'm flying today because I'm leading a major initiative that directly benefits this airline." A gasp rippled through the cabin. The officer blinked, his confidence faltering. The man across the aisle froze, his smug expression replaced by disbelief. Damon continued, his tone unwavering. "The policies I've helped implement prioritize respect and fairness, yet here I stand, subjected to baseless assumptions. Is this how this airline treats its passengers?" Passengers murmured their support. "He's right," someone said from a few rows back. Another chimed in, "This shouldn't happen." The officer cleared his throat, his tone softer now. "Mr. Carter, I apologize. I wasn't informed of your role." Damon interrupted. "You shouldn't need my title or role to treat me fairly. That's the real issue here." The tension in the cabin shifted. A woman seated nearby stood and addressed the officer. This man did nothing wrong. He was sitting quietly. Why was he singled out? The officer nodded, his face red. "You're absolutely right, ma'am. I deeply apologize, Mr. Carter." Flight attendants rushed in, eager to smooth things over. "Mr. Carter, can we offer you a complimentary meal or drink as an apology?" one asked, her tone pleading. Damon shook his head. "What I want is for this airline to examine its procedures and train its staff better. Incidents like this tarnish your reputation. The man who'd started it all sat frozen, his confidence shattered. He finally stammered,
I'm sorry.
I didn't mean. Damon turned to him. You didn't mean? That's not enough. Your assumption wasn't just insulting, it was a reflection of the biases we need to confront. Think about why you felt entitled to judge me. Applause erupted as passengers voiced their agreement. Damon returned to his seat, but the cabin remained abuzz with conversation. As the plane landed, Damon felt a quiet resolve. This moment wasn't just about clearing his name, it was about calling out prejudice and demanding better. Stepping off the plane, he left an impression that would linger long after the journey ended. As Damon stepped off the plane, the cool breeze of the tarmac hit his face, but his mind was still replaying the events that had unfolded. The quiet conversations among the passengers trailed behind him like a persistent echo. Each step felt heavier than the last, not because of the confrontation, but because of the greater weight of what it symbolized. Damon had spent his life breaking barriers, yet moments like these were stark reminders that progress was far from complete. The incident wasn't just about him. It was about countless others who had faced similar judgments, often without the platform or presence to defend themselves. Damon knew the responsibility that came with his position. He wasn't just representing himself that day, he was standing up for those whose voices often went unheard. As he entered the terminal, a young woman approached him. She had been seated a few rows behind during the flight. Her expression was a mixture of gratitude and admiration. "Thank you for speaking up," she said earnestly. "I've seen things like that happen before, but no one ever says anything. You handled it with so much grace. It gives people like me hope." Damon smiled, her words resonating deeply. "We all have a role to play," he said. "It's not about anger. It's about accountability. If we don't challenge these biases, they'll never change." The woman nodded, her eyes glistening. "You've inspired me to speak up the next time I see something like this." Damon's heart swelled with a mixture of pride and resolve. As he continued walking, his thoughts drifted to what he would do next. He had already decided that this incident wouldn't be swept under the rug. A detailed email to Horizon Air's leadership would be his first step. Not to seek compensation or special treatment, but to ensure that meaningful change came from this moment. He'd recommend enhanced diversity training, clear protocols for handling passenger complaints, and perhaps even a program that encouraged employees to confront and unlearn unconscious biases. Damon wasn't just interested in a solution for himself, he wanted to create a ripple effect that would protect others in the future. As he hailed a cab and slid into the back seat, Damon stared out the window, his reflection staring back at him. He realized that moments of adversity were opportunities, not just to stand up for oneself, but to set an example for others. This wasn't the end of the story. For Damon, it was a call to action, a reminder that real change begins when courage meets purpose. And as the city skyline loomed ahead, he felt ready to face whatever came next. As the cab merged into the bustling city traffic, Damon's resolve deepened. This was more than a single flight, it was part of a larger journey. He vowed to use his voice, his influence, and his story to inspire lasting change, one step at a time. With each mile passing beneath him, Damon knew the fight wasn't over, but neither was his determination to build a better future.